or song or graphic art or writing, you know, in my case with words, like I think when I think about creativity, it's like I'm going deep into myself and pulling out a way of thinking and a way of expressing that nobody else can really do. And then I'm fashioning that into something that the rest of the world can see and interact with.
And so do you have any other mediums? Like, do you create just to create sometimes? Because that's necessary.
Yeah. I have learned more about myself in that way as time has gone on. I've always loved to write, but the first thing that I ever loved to do, like when I was like 7, I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be an illustrator. So I was like really into drawing as a kid. And then when I hit 6th grade, I started playing competitive sports, and like I was pretty good at that. So I sort of shifted my attention over to sports. And so I'm like really good at drawing if you put me with other 6th graders. Like I like plateaued at like a prodigal 12-year-old. Like I'm really good right there, but not as an adult. But still, I like will draw and sketch. I love music as a fan. I enjoy like making my own music and writing my own lyrics. I have a guitar in the other room that I like play around with. I'm not very good at all, but music is probably it's like the fun thing for me. Like there's a lot of other things that I try to do that are artistic, that are either like, that have some utility to them. Music has always just been like, I'm going to have so much fun doing this regardless of what happens. So that's kind of like my thing.
What does your entrepreneurial day-to-day look like? Or is there really a day-to-day? That's another part of the question.
Yeah, there's not. And I actually like that there's not. In the last like workforce job that I had, I remember being like 3 or 4 months in and telling my manager, like, hey, I'm gonna need y'all to find some more stuff for me to do because I'm gonna get bored. And once I get bored, like I'm not gonna care about none of this. Right. And so the fact that my days don't often look similar is actually good just for my brain and like keeping me interested in what I have going on in my life. I have learned that I have a lot of power in how my day-to-day looks, and I need to hold myself accountable to that power, because I think it's easy to get like buried under work and be like, oh, I got 4 resumes to write, I got a project to edit, I got a project to draft on. And so it can feel like my day-to-day is just working, wake up, work as much as I can, and then go to sleep. But last week I was trying to be very intentional about, making my days what I wanted them to be. And one of those days I like woke up at maybe 7 or 8. I went to the park. I shot some hoops. I did a little workout. I went and got like breakfast for myself. I didn't really start doing anything until 1 or 2 p.m. And like everything was fine. I got everything done, So the day can look any kind of way, but I am at the point where I need to be more like, I need to encourage myself more to make my days what I want them to be. Yeah.
That's like part of the thing, like figuring out how to balance work with joy. And so what does joy look like for you?
Joy is a tough one for me, because I feel like there wasn't a lot of joy in my upbringing. And not to say that everything was always doom and gloom, but I feel like I was like acculturated to society in this mentality that like you always have to get something else, So you always need to work to have more money, or you always need to be striving to get to this next point, or whatever. And I mean, I think there's a fine line between like, healthy ambition and then like, grind culture or whatever we want to call it. But I didn't really open up a lot of room in my life to just be joyous about things when I was younger. And so now I like as a person, I'm figuring out like what joy looks like for me in moments, and then also like maybe over a sustained period, like what can I do to cultivate that?
Yeah.
Like joy is a practice, you know what I mean, in my life, as opposed to something that happens to me and I'm like, oh, well, that sure was cool. But
right.
Eating good food, for one. I love grabbing a good meal. I love shooting hoops. Basketball is the first thing that I ever did that I really felt like good at. And so if I go to the park and I shoot 10 shots and I make 6 and I miss 4, the rest of the day I'm on cloud 9. I'm like, I made more than I missed. Like, I feel like the man, you know? So simple stuff like, you know, laughing with my friends, especially in a time like this where we've been, you know, in some ways disconnected from people and not able to socialize in the usual ways that we might if it wasn't a pandemic. Like being able to hop on FaceTime with, like, you know, my best friends and just crack jokes like that. Those are the moments where I feel like they could go on forever and I'd be okay with that.
So I guess I think about, like, how has the pandemic, what have been the highs and lows, I would say, of being in the pandemic? Because there, you know, we know, like, the outside lows, right? But, like, personally.
Yeah. So I would say the lows for me have been twofold. And we talk about, like, the outside lows or whatever. I think everybody has been affected by some sort of, like, loss, you know?
Yeah.
It has reached us all in some way or another. And so that has been hard because loss is usually hard, but also because of safety concerns. I don't feel that I have been able to really, like, grieve and commemorate in the way that I usually would. And so figuring out new ways to, like, hold people's memories dear and like navigate through what it means to maybe not have them with us here anymore. Like, it's like a different game than I'm used to doing. And when we could all just get together in a room and talk about it.
Yeah, you know? And think about it. And
So that has been one thing. The other thing has been, it feels like everything is moving in slow motion to me, you know, like when the pandemic first started and people were like, well, I guess a tangible example is I was scheduled to do, like, several workshops last April and at schools in person. And they all got canceled. And then only one of them got rescheduled, and that's coming up, like, in a couple weeks. So it's like, it just feels like my timelines for everything that I was working on and so ready for got pushed way far out or got extended super long. And so me as a checklist person who loves to be like, did that, like, awesome, like, it's complete. There's been so many things pending in my mind for so long that's been a little bit stressful. So those two things for lows. But for highs, I think I like to sit around and think about life and think about the world. And I mean, sometimes I get a little bit too deep into my own thoughts, but I really appreciate the time that the pandemic has given me to just, like, reframe how I think about a lot of things and think about how the world was before and changes that we've had to make out of necessity during this time. And some of those that I think I'm going to carry over into, like, you know, when we're not in this situation anymore. I always appreciate opportunities that give me, like, I can have reflection and learning from, you know. I feel like I'm holding a lot of things way more close than I was beforehand. Just like any trauma that people face, it's like, all right, this is, you know, I don't want to let this go while I have it. So appreciating little things and little moments and trying to do that to the highest magnitude has been something that I have come out of this experience with thus far.
How has your creativity changed, or has it?
I have more time for creativity because I was traveling, you know, to go speak to students in this place or that place. And, like, I kind of have a travel routine. So it's like, I need my headphones. I need my music I'm going to listen to. I'm on the plane. Nobody talk to me. Leave me alone. You know what I mean? Yes. But, like, because I'm in the house, it's like, oh, I got time to write and I got time to read. And so, I'm not saying that I would rather not be traveling, but with the time that I have been given back to really be stationary, I've had a lot more time to think through ideas. Like I did 4 months of research on a novel idea and then started writing. And I feel like it's one of the most well thought out projects that I've ever done. And I think it's because I didn't have a lot of things to bounce back and forth to and places to go. So I think my creativity in relation to timelines being extended has also changed somewhat there. I've had to learn to be like a little bit more limber with my expectations for how to get stuff done. And also learn how to do multiple things at once, because if I turn in revisions to whoever this day and they're not going to get them back to me for a month or so, like I can't sit on my hands for a month waiting on those revisions. I'll go out of my mind. So learning how to like grab enough things to carry and to keep myself busy, but also not like overload myself has been something that I've been practicing.
That's a whole balancing act and stuff. I'm still figuring it out.
It's hard.
How do I blank out at least 2 weeks just to get my brain to charge back up, because it's a lot. So research. I always have this question about research with books. So like, what does your research entail?
Yeah. I love research, first of all. I'm in my group chats like telling people all these sources that I'm finding and all these things. And they're like, okay, but did you write the book yet? Like, we
understand in 1921 this happened, but...
like, okay, we hear what you're saying, but just give us the thing when it's ready. So my favorite subject when I was a kid was history. I always loved history, even more than English. Like I like going to history class. And so I think I've always had like this knack for looking into the past, looking at different trends, different events, the way that people like as a society or as a community change over time based on things that happen. And also like how the events of the past shape different things that happen like in our future, right? So we have this 2019 through 2020, whatever pandemic. And then after that end year of the pandemic, like things are going to be way different for the people, moving forward. And so that's the kind of stuff that I'm always very interested in, like how the tides turn based on what happened to people, how we like adapt. And so I like to do research from a bunch of different angles and just kind of compile a lot of things. I will always read books because that's just the way that I like to get my information. So I'll find like a good book on a topic and I'll go through it. I will highlight, I will make notes, I'll archive as much as I can, like the information that I get from that. I will also read online articles. Probably I'll start with online articles because most of the time I can do that for free and then like kind of learn which book I need to buy based on what I've already read. So we'll swap those. I start off with the online articles, then I'll probably read a book or two about whatever topic I'm interested in. And after that, I consider that to be like the foundation of my research. So now I know enough to ask questions so that I can learn other things. And I'll start engaging other media. Like maybe I'll listen to some podcasts, maybe I'll watch some YouTube videos or a movie and just like start wrapping in more creative and less objective forms of, compiling information. I will keep all of this stuff in like one journal or on like one document on my computer.
That's important. That is so important.
And when I'm ready, when I have concluded, I put concluded in like air quotes because I feel like it doesn't really ever stop. But when I have enough information to feel like I can get started on something, then I will start categorizing the information that I found. So like right now for the project that I'm working on, I'm doing a lot with setting. And so I like have in my research Bible, I have like, okay, here's what the environment was like in terms of its climate over these years. here are the animals that lived in that region. Here are the trees and the plants that are native to that region. So I like have these
I'm definitely
categories.
taking all of this as you speak. I'm just like, okay, let me keep that in here.
And then so that's like the environment. And then another section might be like people's jobs, like, oh, what jobs do people have? And like, do all of these